This is Shelley Craft coming to you live on SNNLive. We're coming to you from the 7th Annual Precious Metals Summit in Beaver Creek, Colorado, 2017. I have with me Marz Wallbridge Mining Company Limited. It's a publicly traded company on the TSX, and the symbol is WM. Welcome to SNNLive.
Well, thanks, Shelley, for having me.
It's good to have you. Let's get started with a brief overview of the company, and then I'll ask away.
Sounds good. Well, Wallbridge is an exploration company that's been in Sudbury looking for copper nickel PGM over the past 2 years. We decided to look after our shareholders by creating value and acquiring some projects that are cash flow producers. First project was last year. We purchased Fenelon. It's a gold property that we've actually developed it now. We plan to put it in the bulk sample this year and hope it into production next year. And in the meantime, our M&A acquisition team is actually looking at other acquisitions. We're hoping that we can actually close 1 or 2 this year.
So you've become an M&A company.
Well, we actually become an exploration company who's transitioning to become a producer, so to create value for our shareholders.
Let's start with the acquisition from Balmoral, if we could.
Yes. So Balmoral had this property that it's on the Sunday Lake break where the Detour Gold Mine on the Ontario side is. They've been exploring on the Martiniere project. Their focus has been on the large sort of open pit scale type deposits. And they had this Fenelon project, which is a high-grade gold deposit, that once we approached them, they were interested in selling it. We actually purchased that 100% last year for $3.5 million. Since then, we've had very positive results from our exploration. In fact, we've had 2 exploration campaigns this year. The first campaign was resulted in some fantastic grades of 7 grams of 141 grams a ton, or 7 meters of 141 grams a ton. And the recent exploration drilling that was about a month ago that announced, we had about 3 meters of 346, 7 meters of 12 grams a ton. The resource itself is a 13 gram a ton. We think that we've actually increased substantially the existing resource down to about 100 meters. We believe that our target is about 250,000 to 400,000 ounces, and within the next couple of years we continue to advance that project to that stage. The initial step is obviously to put it into a bulk sample this year. We're going to take about 35,000 tons of about 13 grams a ton out of the bulk sample, which we just received the permit for the bulk sample. So the process is generally about 60 to 75 days. We expect to have the bulk sample started by November of this year. And depending on the results of the bulk sample and underground drilling, we'd like to drill it at least 200-300 meters depth and be able to put that into production. We expect it to be about 25 to 30,000 ounces per year for a few years.
So what I'm always interested in is the transition of a company from M&A and now into producing to get to that point. So you've given indications of what your drilling program's going to be, what you found so far, what you would like to find, and what you think production's going to be.
Yes.
But when you're grounded and when you're in a position of taking this company to development, how do you feel that's going to be taken? What are you going to do?
Well, I think the first step is for us to be able to take a bulk sample to not only understand the continuity of the ore, but also the recoveries, as well as being able to even determine the costs and everything else. So upon the successful results of the bulk sample and also the exploration drilling that we plan to do from underground, we're hoping that we can expand the resources and the reserve, not only along strike, but also to depth. This is a story that's used to be done back in northern Ontario and northern Quebec, where a lot of the mining companies had 1 or 2 years of reserves rather than having 1 million ounce right off the bat and doing a lot of dilution to their shareholders. So our company's philosophy is find a value accretive deposit such as Fenelon, which is a high grade. Take a bulk sample, and if that is good, go ahead and start a production of 25 to 30,000 ounces and start growing that as it goes. It may very well be many years of production, but we don't know that today. So our plan is to actually continue the plan that we have in order to determine that.
And that means continue drilling.
That is correct. Continue drilling, and drilling it from underground is obviously much easier and much cheaper, and you can actually understand the geology as you further it.
When was this originally discovered? I mean, I want to go back to Fenelon's history, because I'm sure there is some.
Well, Fenelon actually used to be owned back in the day, perhaps by a few larger companies, but in 2001, American Bonanza, which is actually currently no longer in existence, did a bulk sample from surface. They actually did an open pit bulk sample. They sent it to a mill in Malartic, which was owned by Richmond, Camflow Mill, and they actually had a 97% recovery of the first bulk sample, and the recovered grades were about 10 grams a ton. In 2004, as a recommendation from the first bulk sample, they decided to go underground. So there is actually a bit of a development that we bought. So not only did we buy a property with the mineralization, we also bought a property where it already has some infrastructure at the site, including an underground ramp, which is halfway through the first resource that we have.
So let's talk about the team that you have assembled.
Sure. I mean, if you actually take a look at our board members, our board are Warren Holmes, who's chairman of Hut Bay. We have Parvit Fushangi, who's been a COO of Vale. And we also have Elaine Ellingham, who was the CEO of Richmond and is now lead director of Richmond Gold. I myself am a mining engineer with over 35 years of experience. Our geology team, we actually have close to about 17 technical people. They've been with our company for over 12 years. So the longevity also plays in a role in exploration. So we believe we have a very good team. We have a couple of mining engineers who've been helping us on this project. So by the way, I just wanted to mention that Fenelon is one of the purchases that we have done. Our M&A is quite active. We've actually looked at over 150 projects. We've actually gone to 21 confidentiality agreements, and currently we have 5 under discussion. We are hoping that before the end of the year, we'll be able to announce another acquisition of a gold property, which would be value accretive again. We're not interested in low-grade tonnage. We're certainly interested in grades that can sustain metal price fluctuations.
And you have a very close eye on, ultimately, production costs.
Absolutely. I mean, again, we put our first project into production as an exploration company about 2014 in Sudbury. We successfully managed it in the 2 years that the metal prices were at the lowest in 10 years. We actually not only generated the cash flow from that project, a positive cash flow, but more importantly, we gained the experience to let the market know that the exploration companies generally that don't succeed going into production on their first try, we managed to prove that we can, and we did.
Let's get your website out there for more information.
Sure, it's www.wallbridge mining, WALLBRIDGE mining.com, all one word.
Ladies and gentlemen, Marz Cord, Wallbridge Mining Company Limited. It's a publicly traded company on the TSX. The symbol is WM. I'm Shelley Kraft. This is SNNLive, and we're coming to you live from the 7th Annual Precious Metals Summit in Beaver Creek, Colorado, 2017. Marz, I want to thank you so much for coming.
Thank you very much for having me.
You're welcome.
Okay.